All right. I'm midway through a project, but now is just as good of a time to post a random video as ever. Let's call this the om606 JKU series. I'll sweet and attentive, and then I'll show you some details. om606, out of a E300 from like 97 to 99 here in the States. Fully built, fully gone through, everything's refreshed. Forged rods, refreshed pistons, new rings, new bearings, painted everything. Diesel Mechan 2.5 millimeter pump. God, I don't even remember the name. It's a BorgWarner S257 with the, I don't remember what AR. I got the AR somewhere, but not right here apparently. Smaller AR housing. I want quick spooling, so not a monster turbo. Hope it spools quickly. If not, then we'll tackle that when it happens. Started the downpipe, kept it as tight as I could while it's here. I also started the wastegate. I would like a top mount wastegate. Yeah. You don't have to have a wastegate on diesels, but it's a safety mechanism. Get over it. So I have some stuff that I have to do to this still. The AC compressor sticks out too far. The motor is too wide to fit where it's going, which I'll show you in a sec. And my plan of attack is I'm going to ditch this compressor. I'm going to ditch this bracket. I'm going to make a custom plate, and I'm going to try to mount the JKU AC compressor as tight to the block as I possibly can. This one hangs out a good amount for some reason, and I believe I can get it a fair bit tighter. I mean, every millimeter I gain is better, but I'd like to gain at least a ½ inch to an inch. And by going to the JKU one, I hopefully can get away without changing lines, but I can at least have all the same type of fittings. The AC compressor will be going from this location in the engine bay to slightly down and forward, so I might be able to make the lines work by rebending and routing them. We will see. We'll cross that bridge. First things first is to get that as close to that as possible. Now, I think I have a video up about this guy. This is a TDI swapped XJ, a 2001. It is sitting on rusty suspension with a rough country long arm. If you know me, you know I hate rough country. I used the long arm because I was getting to the point I was going to make my own. And at that point I was like, well, I may as well get a rough country and make it how I like it. And guess what? I like it. It's fine. Maybe I have to swap the Heims joints later, whatever. I bring this car up because this is why I'm building this. I love this car. I really do. It's awesome. It takes me everywhere. I just drove it 1,000 miles over the weekend to Arkansas and back and around my grandparents' lake house. And it was a good time. Great fuel efficiency, amazing. Needs power, want a little more space, and I want something a little more modern. Not that I won't keep this. This is just probably going to become a toy more than anything. So the plan is to keep this as much of a road-going oriented vehicle as possible. I have it sitting up on jack stands at the exact height it will sit at with the lift I bought for it. And I will show you that real quick, keeping it in here. It's a 4-inch Mopar lift. I want this thing to ride as close to stock as possible, and everyone says that this lift rides like you're floating on a cloud compared to stock without having to go to long arm. That's very important to me. Yes, I do plan on going to bigger tires. Again, I'll cross that bridge when I get there. A lot of people like to build stuff and do everything up front all at once. I like to get vehicles done correctly, but I like to get them moving as soon as possible so that they're a utility to me and I can decide what is most important to focus on. A lot of guys get tied up in details that are just, they're not important up front. Now, if you're going for a hardcore rock bouncer or something, I understand that you need every single detail to be there. But for a road cruising vehicle, we can cross some lines when we get there, looks being one of them. So here's where I'm at with this car. This is a 2012 JKU. It is not actually black. It's actually green. I love this color. I bought it on accident, honestly. I thought it was black, but I love this color, so it's cool. It is a 2012 with 185,000 miles on it. I drove it for about 5,000 miles as a daily driver just to test everything, make sure everything's good, no transmission problems beforehand and all that jazz. As you can see, I've started to tear into it after I've got my baseline. And here's where we're at right now, and here's what I'm planning to do. So, that's the stock 3.6. This is the front clip with the radiator, the AC condenser, and all that jazz still on here with the stock lines. That simply unbolts and lifts off once it's disconnected. So the plan is to finish disconnecting the engine, transmission, and transfer case, and then pull it all out as one unit and get it on the ground. From there, I'm going to do a couple things. I'm going to do that AC compressor thing we talked about, and once that's done, I'm going to tear into the transmission a little, swap the bell housing for the one that lets the transmission in here bolt to this. And yes, you heard me correctly. This NAG1 transmission that comes in JK is the exact transmission, pretty much, that came behind the om606. It's just the four-wheel drive version. So by buying the bell housing that this engine used factory, it allows you to bolt to the NAG1 in the om6 or in the JKU. And then all you have to do is build everything around it. So that's what we're going to do. If you see my channel, or you've seen a couple of years ago I posted a video, I had an RB Swap 300Z that I built engine also. Took the same approach with that car. Same transmission between both motors, different bell housing. That car drove and ran like a factory car, and it was way more complicated than this engine is. So that's kind of what inspired this, because the XJ has a Whitbread adapter on the back of the motor. Not that that's a bad adapter or anything. Engines are just kind of weird when you bolt them to transmissions they're not supposed to be bolted to. Yeah, maybe I'll have to do that with the 606 as time goes on, but you know, I want it to be like I want it to drive like it came from the factory like that. So this is happening. I'll record what I can. Show you a couple quick things, because I think it'll be fun for you guys to see what I plan to have to do versus what I actually end up having to do. I measured the drive shafts, both front and rear, and like when they were sitting at stock position at 4 inches, and it appears as though I will have to have that one at least shortened, and you know, you can't lengthen drive shafts, so I'll probably have to have one made for this, which is fine because the transfer case angle was aggressive. It was putting this flex joint at too steep of an angle, so I probably need to go to a, what do they call that, a double cardan. I'll show you what I mean by that for those who are not as hip. That's a double cardan shaft. See, there's two U-joints. It breaks the angle down that the drive shaft turns at between two joints instead of one, so you don't get driveline vibrations, and it's better for it. So I know I have to do that. That's fine. I have a good shop that can do that. The engine and transmission, once bolted to this, the transmission's not going to be, it's not going to be able to sit in the stock position, unfortunately. That's why I'm going to have to shorten and lengthen drive shafts. The whole engine and transmission needs to be pushed backwards approximately 4 inches. I can't get an exact number right now, but we're just going to have to kind of approach that as we can. I've done all the measuring I can. It's hard in these organic shapes and stuff. So the reason I have to do that is the front of the motor needs to clear this front clip and radiator and everything. Otherwise, you got to do a lot of really custom stuff, and we don't want to do that. We want to do as little custom stuff as possible so that it all drives and acts and can be worked on efficiently. This is a much longer motor than the stock V6. Instead of 3 cylinders and 3 cylinders, you have all 6 cylinders in a line, so that would make sense, you know? So yeah, we got to do that. I already know about it. Because of that, this front support from my friend Eli that has built a couple of these Jeeps like this has told me that I will have to cut this and I can use this exact tube, but I need to rotate it apparently approximately 60 degrees so that instead of doglegging backwards and down, it'll dogleg forward and down to clear the front of the motor. My plan is to, once I get this out of here, I'll just cut this and leave it out until I have that sitting how it needs to, because this center brace can be put pretty much wherever. With that in mind, yes, I'll have to make engine mounts, duh, but there's also some stuff under the car that's got to change, and this is where it gets a little hairy. I will take you down here and show you what's up. All right, so we have a couple things going for us. The first thing is both the transfer case rod, which is that guy, and the transmission shifting rod, which is this guy, are already cable style. So they can flex with the transmission and everything, unlike older Jeeps, which is what I'm used to messing with. So that works in our advantage. This transmission is already mounted with a V-style mount. That's much better than an old Jeep. They used to just mount off the bottom, which was not great. It lets things shake a lot. The other thing we have going for us is there just so happens to be 4 inches of room between the back of the transfer case and this bar, or maybe it's 3 inches, I can't remember. This fuel tank right here, I'm sure you guys are getting all twisted around. This fuel tank happens to be 4 inches from the transmission mount. So that's working in our advantage. If I have to notch this, I can do that. Moving the fuel tank is a whole nother project. Let's not do that if possible. So the plan of attack here is, this is just a support bar. Really, so this is your transfer case guard. So we'll have to figure out a transfer case guard after we do all of this, but that'll be tricky. Also not the most crucial thing in the planet. I can tie it in other ways and still have a guard. This front bar here that you see is just a brace that goes from the other frame rail to here. I don't even know why they have this bar right here that ties to the center. That's kind of odd. It can't be doing very much structurally, so I'm not super worried about that. And then the plan is to take this cross member that holds up the transmission and transfer case, and I'm going to bolt it to the back of this just like it is right now once it's bolted to the motor, and I'm going to hang it under here approximately where it needs to be, and then I'm going to replicate this bracket right here to hold it back wherever I need. I want to do that because I really don't want to make a cross member. The cross member that's factory is just fine. And another thing is, this is a pretty easy plate to mimic. I could have this plasma cut, or I could do it myself. And if I have to drop this down or up or whatever, you can just remake this profile to do that. And then you just make a copy of it 4 times for both sides. So that's my plan. It appears that that plan should work pretty well. As for the exhaust, we're not going to do all of this stuff, and I have plans for that, and I guess I'll talk about it right now. So your downpipe will be over there on the passenger side. My plan is to have it come down, come across under the transmission similar to how it does now, except for when it gets to here, I would like to have it come down and out the side of the Jeep. Now, there's a guy that did a pretty cool exhaust that I liked a lot. Excuse my cough. I've had this since Thanksgiving. It is now March. No, it's not COVID. Go away. I'll probably get this video marked now for saying the C word. There was a guy that did a pretty cool side pipe for a 606 where it came down and out just in front of the rear tire. So that does a couple things. First off, you're emissions compliant because it comes out past the passenger seating area, which is what the law is here. And then the other thing is you can do a dual pipe exit. One can be a quiet pipe, one can be a loud pipe. And that could be on a switch. It could be automatic based off of boost pressure. You can do all kinds of stuff with that. But a Valvetronic exhaust is definitely in the future for this. I might even go crazy and have a side pipe here that's really short and have the, you know, unrestricted exhaust come out this way. Haven't completely decided on that yet. It's just going to depend on how everything fits and goes together. So that's one of those bridges we'll cross as time goes. For the fuel tank, because this is a diesel, more than likely what I'll do is I'll use the stock pump. No, I won't use the stock pump. I will get a diesel specific pump, because that's what you should do. And even though this is a mechanical fuel pump, it needs line pressure at the fuel feed to operate appropriately. So there will probably be 2 return lines that go back to the fuel tank. One from the pressure regulator feeding it, and one from the return line from the mechanical fuel system back. Unless I do a style of fuel regulator where it deadheads the fuel and you're just deadheading your lift pump, but apparently that's not a great thing to do, even though a lot of stock vehicles do it. But I will say, a lot of new vehicles have a return line because they figured out it's bad for pumps to do that. So that's my plan currently. This is going to be a really fun swap. I will try to keep you all updated and post videos of me doing stuff as much as I can. I am not a videographer. I am not a social media person. I am barely presentable to people in general. I have trouble saying things that I shouldn't say. So all in all, who knows what kind of videos you're going to get out of me, but I do cool stuff, so watch them. So yeah, I'm going to go forward with getting everything disconnected from the transmission, transfer case, and motor that I haven't already connected, and then I'm going to unbolt the cross member and pull the sucker out. Until next time, which might be tonight when I'm done, who knows.